Hello, everyone. This is Joanne Rebello here, head of the Digital Club at SIMC Pune. We're here to discuss the most talked about topic programmatic advertising. What is the deal with programmatic advertising? What does a programmatic professional do on a daily basis? What is the future of programmatic? And many such questions will be addressed by our industry professionals who are here with me today. Let me introduce you to our speakers. We have with us Vernon DeCruz,
Hey guys.
an online advertising industry professional with over 6 years of hands on exposure to the publisher, advertiser, and technology provider sides of the industry. He is currently a senior programmatic strategist at Google. We also have with us Pritesh Jumani,
Hey everyone.
who has around 5 years of experience in various ad tech roles. He is an ad product and technology specialist at the Globe and Mail, which is a Canadian newspaper. He manages their Globe Alliance and programmatic revenue. We also have with us Siddesh Ovalekar,
Hey everyone.
who has over 4 years of experience in the publisher, advertiser, and media effectiveness roles. He is currently a senior analyst of global marketing sciences at Omnicom Media Group USA. So, without further ado, let's get this discussion started with our very first question. What is programmatic advertising? How can you explain it in simple terms to marketing communication students? Vernon, would you like to start off?
Yeah, sure. So when you say programmatic advertising, you're essentially talking about the ability to advertise on the go in a real-time basis to a targeted audience and taking a decision based on data for this targeted audience. So very often it's common to really confuse the two terms real-time and programmatic advertising. Whereas real-time advertising is actually a subset of programmatic advertising. So think about it as there's a brand, the brand wants to reach men in the age group of 18 to 25 living in India at a certain time during the day, and they have a certain target where when they reach these audiences, they want to make sure that that the ad is viewed for say 30 seconds or the ad is viewed till completion. Now, ensuring that this brief that you had, that is this audience needs to be reached, tying that into the data signals that come through when you're buying the ad and ensuring that you're buying to try and meet that objective. That's all that programmatic tries to do in a quick definition. And Pritesh and Siddesh can add any points to that as well.
One more big advantage programmatic advertising allows is to ease the flow of booking a campaign. Years back, you used to have an IO or a agreement with the advertiser, and the whole process would take quite some time. However, when it comes to programmatic advertising, it's pretty quick, and you have the very quick methods online to book a campaign, and it's a very seamless effort.
Yeah, I can speak for that as well. I think Vernon and Pritesh covered up most of the pieces, and these guys probably work with programmatic operations on a day-to-day basis. I'm on the data side of things, but just to simply put it out there, programmatic advertising is nothing but buying or selling advertising in an automated way. That's about it. That's where the data points come into the picture. It is just automating how you buy and sell ads, but in an automated way with the use of technology and data points.
So, Pritesh already touched upon one advantage of using programmatic advertising. Siddesh, would you like to add on something to that as well?
Yeah, I think uh, as there is technology and data points into it, like scalability is probably the most important thing, that you can reach out a large audience. You also have a lot more control on your inventory, both selling and buying, because of the data points and technology that Vernon mentioned. And feel free to jump into any of the advantages which I'm missing. But essentially, it is a lot more robust, a lot more scalable, a lot more quick, and a lot more controlled than your regular advertising.
Yeah, I think great points mentioned there by Siddesh, and just adding to those points, I think tying in what Pritesh said earlier as well. Earlier, as imagine as an advertiser, if you wanted to sell your ads, you had to individually go and reach out to say the 2,000 biggest publishers for your audience. So Coca-Cola would have to then reach out to maybe the 10 biggest publications that have inventory for people who want to consume, a soft drink, or vice versa. Imagine Nike; they'd have to find out the 10 biggest the 10 biggest publishers that cater to sporting inclined audiences. And all of this still meant that after reaching out manually, you would still not reach everyone that you potentially could reach. So scalability and increased reach and doing this on a real-time basis is a huge advantage. And another very important point is, I think, the transparency that programmatic brings in, because you're recording everything from the point of you creating a campaign to delivering the campaign to how much you spent and the entire channel, and which is where even transparency becomes a very important factor when you're choosing the partners that you work with. So I think transparency and reach are very important, advantages of programmatic. And I'd also say, like to Siddesh's point, bringing in that data and ensuring that on a real-time basis that data is being used effectively is something that, imagine on the TV today, and we're talking about traditional TV, you're reaching a household where maybe 15 different kinds of audiences are watching the TV. It could be like your grandmother, your father, you, and your sibling. And programmatic ensures that you're targeting precisely, or rather improves the precision of targeting as compared to your traditional media.
Yeah, those are some really insightful points. We have done a digital marketing course where we are aware of the Luma landscape, but can you shed some light upon what does the programmatic advertising ecosystem look like?
So the ecosystem itself, when you look at the Luma landscapes, it talks about advertisers and how the revenue flows to the publishers. And as you can see, there are a lot of parties involved in that, be it agencies, be it trading desks, be it DSPs. Everyone has a very important hand in ensuring that the campaign is delivered successfully for the advertiser. And we have quite a few partners merged as well. One of the USPs some companies provide is merging all of their operations so that eventually more money goes to the publisher compared to all the other partners. So in a very simple basic system, for example, if there's an advertiser like Coca-Cola and they work with, say, GroupM, they'll send their campaign budget to them. GroupM is now going to decide what's the best way to ensure that the brand's goals have been met. That could be working with publishers, that could be social media, that could be search campaigns, that could be even traditional media as well. So when you have a very seamless flow that's provided by the agency, it builds trust with the advertisers, and then the agency works with different publishers or even with Google, YouTube, or Facebook, and all of the media partners to ensure that the goals have been met.
Yeah, one point I would like to add to that is, like, as you brought up Luma landscape, I think the Luma landscape is a pretty comprehensive view of the entire ecosystem in itself. Every entity within Luma landscape does some sort of programmatic. It's becoming omnipresent, but the most important entities within that entire system are obviously, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not as close to programmatic as you guys, but you have your DMPs, you have your DSPs and SSPs. Those are the three key things which everyone needs to be aware of when we're talking about programmatic advertising.
Yeah, I think a valid point by Siddesh, but let's take maybe a very simple step back to the origins, right? So in order to understand the ecosystem, and the Luma landscape is really comprehensive, like Siddesh said, and like Pratesh said, there are a lot of players, everyone's doing something different. But let's take a very simple step back to understand that programmatic is just an evolution of the regular buying of inventory for advertisements. So your players essentially will always remain the same, it's just digital. So when you talk about this landscape and this ecosystem, the most important players to keep in mind are the buyer and the seller. And these are the two most important players, and everyone else is in between, facilitating the service of buying ads and selling ads. And to put it very simply, the seller is essentially someone who has inventory. So essentially somebody who has the space for you to put on ads. So essentially a publisher. So when you're reading the newspaper, that's a publisher. Similarly, online, anyone who owns content and can have your ads display on their content, that's the seller. And the buyer is essentially anyone who's looking to purchase this inventory. So someone who is looking to advertise. And these, between these two, everyone who facilitates the real-time purchase and sale of this inventory are the players in the programmatic landscape. So to Siddesh's point, the DSP and the SSP, essentially the demand side and the supply side platforms. And very simply put, supply side is essentially the seller, the person who has the inventory, and demand side is the person who's demanding the inventory, so essentially the buyer. And your DMPs are essentially your data management platforms. And obviously another important part is the exchange, who facilitates the selling and buying of this inventory. So it's a very overall a very comprehensive landscape, but the most important aspects are the buyer, the seller, and the ones that facilitate it in between.
Okay, so that brings me to my next point. Can you tell us a little about the top programmatic advertising channels that are currently present? Pritesh, do you want to take this?
Sure. So some of the very prominent examples right now are CPC campaigns. These could be search campaigns on Google search or even Bing search. Then we have display campaigns, which is all across the web. These are the 300 by 600 or 300 by 250 or the 700 by 90 ads that you see on various websites. After which you have social media buying, which includes Facebook, which is like a very big partner, Instagram, Twitter, and you can also include LinkedIn there, which has very good and precision tools there. So these are pretty much the big players, and how media companies or even brands ensure that they are reaching out to all their core audiences.
Yeah, I think just supplementing Pritesh's point. So, like you said, the three important channels still remain search, display, social. And to his point again, PPC, essentially pay per click. The simplest way to think of that is you're paying for every single click of the ad. Search still remains extremely large, though display is constantly growing, social is constantly growing. And while these are the most important channels right now, and I think maybe we can cover this in some time during the discussion, there are a lot of channels that are also growing additionally. So search, display, and social are super important, but now with the ability of harnessing technology in spheres that weren't available earlier, so your wearables, out of home advertising, those will eventually also grow. These channels might remain the same, but the method to reach the channels, or rather, search, display, and social might still be the channels to reach them, but the medium through which you're reaching might constantly evolve.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, bringing the next question, what are the different types of programmatic media buying that exist?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that, and Siddesh, Pritesh, please join in wherever. So when you classify the types of programmatic buying, essentially it's very similar to buying, even on a newspaper. And I keep going back to newspaper because the methodology still remains pretty much similar. And that's essentially you divide buying into two parts: open auction and private auction. Now, to keep it very simple, your open auction means everyone can participate and purchase the inventory at that point in time. And your private auction means you are having some kind of premium associated with your inventory. So think about, for example, your newspaper front page. Right now, a newspaper front page deal does not get brokered a day before the newspaper is published. So if Amazon is having a big million day sale or a big Diwali offer, it's probably going to be working with the Times of India and Midday to have those front pages printed out way in advance and paying a premium. And that's essentially your private auction, your guaranteed deals in terms of programmatic. Whereas when you look at open auction, so if you look inside your newspaper and you look at the smaller ads that come across, these are ads or ad spaces that even sell a day before the actual printing press prints the publication. So essentially what I'm trying to get to is you still have those two broad divisions within programmatic, where you're talking about programmatic buying through open auction, where it's non-guaranteed inventory and it's a free for all in a real-time auction. Everyone's bidding for that inventory, and the highest bidder, obviously based on several other controls in detail, will win the auction. And then you've got your guaranteed premium slice of the inventory, where the few participate at higher prices and a far more premium way of selling. And Pritesh and Siddesh can add to that, as well.
Yeah, I'll add one point to that. I think my early conception when I was new to the industry was everything is open exchange, programmatic. That's not the case. As Vernon rightly mentioned, there is an open exchange happening, but that's just a subset of programmatic. You have programmatic guaranteed buys as well, which are more premium. And you can argue that what's the difference between a direct buy and a programmatic guaranteed? The only difference is you have more data points going in, more transparency, and it's much more robust than your regular direct buy. So that's the most important thing. That do not assume that everything within programmatic is just open exchange and real-time bidding.
So yeah, quickly talking from a publisher's perspective, for any publisher, programmatic direct campaigns, which means directly working with the advertiser on very high CPM campaigns, is where you want to be at. They constitute a very high percentage of the revenue. To give you an example, if you work directly with a brand, you might get around $25 to $30 of CPM. That means cost per thousand impressions. While if you're an open auction, because it's just an open play, the CPM that you might get from a publisher perspective is around $1 or $2 CPM. So we obviously want to work with a lot of advertisers, give them custom campaigns like even Siddesh mentioned. You tailor it according to their needs, layer it with data points, and work with various DMPs to ensure that very good care is being taken care for the advertisers. So of course that's where the money is.
Okay, so I just have one slight doubt. That is, are the auction models the same as the type of programmatic buying, or is it a separate concept altogether?
Yeah, so I can take a stab at that again. So yeah, I think great question. When you talk about auction models, the thing to keep in mind here is that your auction models are slightly independent to your type of programmatic buying. Now, what does that mean is there are two ways that you can conduct an auction. So the first one is fairly straightforward, a first price auction, where imagine there are three bidders and each of them bids $4, $5, and $6. The highest bidder wins, and that's simply first price. So the one who's bid the highest pays what they have bid. And in the second price auction, you're essentially bidding a certain value, but paying what the second highest bid was. So in the same case where there's a bid of 4, 5, and 6, the winner is still the person that has bid six rupees or $6, but they will pay just a little bit higher than what the second person has paid. The logic being that you were willing to buy the impression, but the fair price is determined by what the second highest person was also willing to pay. So why pay the extra differential? Now, that essentially are the two types of auction. First price where you're paying the highest, and second price where you're paying slightly higher than what the second person paid. These are two auction types, not to be confused with what we just discussed as open and private auction, private marketplace, because the type of auction in both open as well as private marketplaces are again dependent on the exchange, the kind of inventory you're buying. So essentially, in an open auction, you could have a first price or a second price auction, and similarly, in a private auction, you could still have a first price or a second price auction. Now, a lot of the industry, at least the trend over the past 4 to 5 years, is that the industry is moving towards first price. And the reason for this is when you have second price, like you can think about this, right? 4, 5, and imagine someone is willing to pay $15. Now, the example we used, 4, 5, and 6, it's really small numbers, but imagine the same example, 4, 5, and $200. Now, technically, the advertiser was willing to pay 200, but imagine there's a middleman who got the bid of 200 and knew that someone else paid 5. They could still charge the advertiser 200 and pass on, 5.5 or something like that, and keep the net. So the whole point, and going back way back to the discussion where Pritesh mentioned that the end goal is to ensure that the publisher makes more money while also ensuring that the advertiser is getting the value for impression. That's what I think the industry is trying to achieve through first price auctions.
Yeah, thank you, Varun, for clarifying that. That brings me to my next question. How does a brand decide whether they need programmatic advertising or not? Siddesh, would you like to start with this?
Yeah, I can speak for that from an agency side, as we work with a lot of brands. So the simplest, like I can take an instance of my brand. I work with a client which essentially sells soaps. So and we have a relatively small market share. Uh, so in our case, we do a lot of programmatic advertising. You can do programmatic advertising for all three funnels, like get more awareness, get more conversion, get more consideration. Our brand, uh, uh, because we want more market share, our channels and our campaigns are more focused on awareness and consideration. So just getting more reach, which programmatic allows as compared to a direct buy, could be one important factor why we switch to programmatic. Again, one important pointer from an agency side is historically looking at a lot of data and a lot of measurement studies. uh, Programmatic buying is relatively cheaper than your direct buys, uh, with lower CPMs. And when we're talking about awareness and consideration campaigns, it just works better for our purposes. Uh, so if a brand wants to scale it, if a brand wants to buy cheaper ads, it doesn't mean the quality of ad get reduced. It's just that because you have the technology and data points behind it, and you have the buying mechanisms to scale it, you have lower CPMs. So those are some of the things I can speak from the agency side why a brand goes for programmatic advertising.
Yeah, I think Siddesh has covered the points quite thoroughly there. Just to supplement what I think, again going back to the start, uh, as large a brand as you might be, it's almost impossible to reach everyone in the world right now. You can take Coca-Cola, which is probably the most recognized brand in the world, one of the most recognized brands in the world, and you can take a very new again company that's into soft drinks that has just come up. Both of them obviously are very different in terms of scale. Coca-Cola probably is able to reach all the largest publications and the smaller brand cannot. They still cannot possibly reach 100% of the market share, and that's where programmatic today is not really a decision of should my brand be in programmatic. The discussion should revolve around, when I'm in programmatic, what should my ideal goal be. So obviously both Coca-Cola as well as brand XYZ, which has released in the market a year ago, both need to be doing programmatic advertising. But the scale, the kind of inventory that you're going to buy, the amount of money you're going to spend, the time and the effort, the kind of partners you should collaborate with, the type of agencies that you will deal with. Do you need a DMP? If you're really small and you're just starting off and you're going to spend a small amount, should I be spending too much on a DMP, or should I be spending on their initial free offering? Those are the kind of decisions that brands need to take, more than deciding whether they should be spending on programmatic or not. I think whether you should be spending on programmatic is a question that most brands would have answered 4 years down the line, 4 years back in time. The discussions are now around what should we be doing in programmatic to maximize our effectiveness.
Yeah, Pritesh, do you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, just a quick note. Siddesh and Varun have covered most of the points, and for some of the things that brands also decide when it comes to their campaigns is, even if it's a question of whether programmatic or not, it is literally whether they should sign an IO and involve a salesperson and then put in 4 or 5 days of work, compared to just sending a request for proposal to the buyer programmatically and doing the same work that you can do in a non-programmatic way, but in a much quicker and a seamless manner. And that's what publishers are doing right now, and brands are doing right now. They're working directly with very high CPM based campaign, directly using a programmatic guaranteed method rather than an IO or a non-programmatic method.
Okay, that's fair enough. Siddesh, can you take us through how is brand safety ensured in programmatic advertising?
Yeah, I can speak for it again from an agency side. I think, uh, and feel free to chime in. Brand safety uh, can be something which can be like most of the times it is incorporated in your DSPs and SSPs as well. But speaking from Luma Landscape standpoint, brand safety is a very broad term in the entire ecosystem. You have dedicated partners in the industry which work only on brand safety. We work with a partner called Integral Ad Science, IAS. You have Double Verify and hundreds of other companies who genuinely just do brand safety. And how that works is essentially you append an IAS tag to your regular tags, and probably there are some additional features within your DSPs and SSPs which obviously allow brand safety as well. But brand safety in itself is a very, very broad domain. And even being broad, it's very specialized that there are dedicated organizations only working towards brand safety. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Do any of you want to add anything more to it, or we?
Sure. So what publishers also do right now is like they just mentioned IS. We also work with IS and just get the setup in place so that we can offer all the brands directly that we already have brand safety. To give an example of brand safety to everyone on the call right now is, for example, there is an airline carrier, and they want to show ads to all the users on a particular publisher, but you definitely don't want to target an article which talks about a air crash. So an advertiser is going to ensure that they have brand safety mechanisms in place so that the carrier ads are not there on such a article. It could be same with COVID. An advertiser would not want to show their ads on COVID related articles. That's when we have big partners such as IAS and Double Verify, which contextualize the whole article. They skim over what's given in the content and accordingly ensure that the advertiser is not showing their ads on that particular article.
That brings me to my next question. Could you take us through some live programmatic campaigns? Vernon, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, sure. So I think we could maybe do this in a way where right now, since I'm on the advertiser side, Pritesh is on the publisher side, and Siddesh sits perfectly in between the agency. We could give an example each. So when you talk about a campaign in the programmatic sphere, again, because you throw around terms like real time and immediate, etc., there's this misunderstanding that campaigns are just short bursts or they need to happen in a minute, in a day. You actually have a ton of campaigns that run for the entire year or run for an entire quarter, etc. And I could maybe give an example of a sample campaign. So we work with this really large takeaway provider. So essentially, it's similar to the Swiggies and Zomatos of India and Europe. And this provider essentially has a goal of ensuring that they reach as many people as possible in their market, which is in the Netherlands and Europe. And the goal of reaching as many people as possible in that given time is incremental. So essentially, they have a yearly calendar, and in the month of Jan, they need to reach X number of people. In the month of Feb, Y number of people. So this is a campaign that runs for the entire period of 2019, 2020. And the campaign runs in a manner where on a live basis, we track not just on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, how many people are reached and whether they are meeting those KPIs that are needed to hit the goals for the campaign. So when you talk about an example of a campaign, this is a perfect example of a campaign where it seems like it's really large, it's running for a really long period in time, but you need to take a step back and again realize that it's actually on a real time happening on a daily basis every minute, although it is a campaign that's been running for 2 years and probably has been booked for another couple of years. So tying all of those points together, that campaign has different parts. It buys on social, it buys on display. It has PPC based elements. Within each of these elements, some part of it is direct buys, where they've tied up with some really premium publishers, whereas some parts are open exchange. Within the open exchange, there's first as well as second price auctions. And that's where the beauty of programmatic is, such that you can have a whole wide array of things happening in a single campaign, and there's always a lot of new learning. Yeah, that's an example I could maybe hand over to Pritesh.
That's a very well explained scenario and that's what happens in most of the advertisers who work with their agencies to distribute their budget. Some of the examples that I want to talk about is how granular targeting can be for some of the advertisers. So for example, if you have a casino which is based on the outskirts of the city, you can target all the users in that city who have been to that casino, and once they're back to their hometown, you can again target the exact same users, whoever have seen the ads, and then probably get a higher conversion. You also have companies that also do that. Like they'll ensure that if you're, for example, on Amazon, or if you're on any other marketplace and you see an ad, they'll again retarget you when you're on the open web, on a different website, which is going to try to convince you to buy the particular product. So we do have brands which sell on different websites also target their audience in the most granular and the most effective manner.
Yeah, I can walk through a quick example as well as how we work with programmatic campaigns on the agency side. Like, especially speaking of agencies, we have dedicated teams for pretty much every channel and way of buying. So we have a programmatic team. One recent example was we wanted to run a pest control campaign for a new pest control product, which was a bit more, you can say organic or less chemicals into it. So we wanted to kind of target an audience which was like green living, new parents, etc., etc. So we had all these data points in place. Now, speaking of data points and DMPs, like we worked with a lot of vendors, and we still work with a lot of vendors who essentially provide these data sets to us. We build that audience within those data sets. We work with tons of vendors. It can be your behavioral characteristics, it can be age related, demographic, geographical, anything and everything. Slice and dice the data any way you want. And then once you create the audience, in terms of activating it, then it gets feed into your DSP. It can be a DV360 or anything like that, and then it gets activated once you have your audience created and saved within the DSPs. Does that help?
Yeah, yes, it does. So we've spoken about all the wonders that programmatic advertising has done. I'm sure there are some issues or difficulties that exist with programmatic advertising, and it can be as simple as, maybe while setting up a campaign, or anything like making the deal go through. Like, any particular issues that you guys would like to highlight?
Yeah, I think I can speak first on this. I think issues, just like any industry, programmatic also has its bunch of issues. And one thing to keep in mind is programmatic evolves at a very fast pace as compared to most other industries. There's something new that's happening almost every quarter. So staying abreast of that and ensuring that you're able to meet the needs of the client, which are ever changing, is, I'd not say an issue, but is definitely one of the major challenges that if you can meet well, will do well for your company as well. And to that point, for example, nowadays data transparency and data privacy and safety are huge issues and huge concerns. So Siddesh, Pritesh, and me, we've all spoken about how programmatic helps you target better. And you can target users specifically. You can use a whole bunch of data, but there's a growing literacy to how data is a very important asset, and how we need to be safeguarding our data, how there should be limited access to a lot of the data points that are used for targeting. And a lot of companies are being very mindful while building solutions around ensuring data privacy. So when you talk about issues, there's a lot changing in the industry in terms of, earlier you could target based on cookies. Now a lot of browsers are choosing to not have cookies. and a large part of programmatic is buying for the user. Like we said, right, earlier on TV, imagine that you were showing an ad, you were showing the ad to the entire family in that 9 to 10 bracket, although you knew some amount of TV data, 9 to 10 PM on Sony, this is the program and this is roughly the demographic of people who will watch it. So this is who we will target. It's not a precise medium, but in digital today, as a signed in user on your phone, and since you've searched for XYZ product on Amazon, that's a cookie you've set on Amazon which can be used. But we know that Safari, etc., are dropping cookies. A lot of other browsers are following suit. So ensuring that we're staying up to date with that drop-in cookie pool and how to get it through, that's something that I think is common across the industry. And on a lighter note, you always have really funny incidents where you think programmatic is real time, and if anyone's heard about clearing cookie, clearing cache, sometimes you see the wrong ad, you see the incorrect ad, and despite you clearing cookies, it's tough to explain to a client why he's still seeing the same ad 5 times when he had set a frequency cap of 2. So you always have your fun challenges, but that's part and parcel of programmatic.
Yeah, I can speak for a couple of things, actually, adding on to Vernon's point. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think a big issue still with programmatic, especially probably with the open exchanges, is like there is a lack of transparency in terms of where your impression has landed, especially when you want to do measurement or media effectiveness against it, because we've had measurement studies that we saw, our programmatic campaigns are working really well, but where are these impressions going within the campaign? Like, which website is this impression landing on? We can't understand that to that level of granularity. All we can say that, okay, this is part of Google Display Network, and there are like thousands of websites within Google Display Network. So complete transparency is probably like one of the issues. Second point is like, as he mentioned about data, and I can speak for this pretty well, and there is this term within data and media analytics called match rate, which is essentially we have 10 different data sets. How do we match the tables within those 10 different data sets to understand, okay, is the same user? And trying to understand match rate in terms of understanding effectiveness of the campaign is a big issue, because there are so many data points feeding into it, but as long as we don't have a good match rate, those data sets are pretty useless. So those are the two important things. And as he mentioned, one also for data privacy, I think it's going to get bigger and better as we go on. Like, probably third-party cookies may not be a thing 2 years from now, for all we know. All your full stack advertisers like Google, Facebook's, Amazon's, and we are working with them closely. They're already building something called as clean rooms, where we build our audiences, analyze everything, but we can't export anything from the platform. We work on Google's platform, proprietary platform. We can't export anything from the platform, but we can get all the insights we need. So that serves both purposes. We get the insights we need, but it also makes sure that there is data privacy. That helps.
Quickly adding to both the points, all the points that are mentioned by Vernon and Siddesh. Yeah, it's an ever-changing landscape, and there's a lot of talk about the cookie-less world right now. And as and when people are getting more knowledge about all the data and how it's been used for them to see ads, it's a very important. We have consortiums right now working together to have a mechanism in place. And we have different methods like ID, and we have a lot of publishers right now who are trying to register users and use their email ID to collect data and then target them in the most efficient manner, which is probably the next go-to method after if there are no cookies. And there are quite a few big businesses built on collecting data and then targeting in the best possible way. So it's all about finding the best way for all the parties to ensure that their goals have been met, and also at the same time a user's privacy is also taken into consideration.
Yeah, thank you for that. Also, all of you mentioned that the landscape is evolving so much and so fast. So can you tell us a little about what are the current trends in programmatic advertising, and which industries are successfully implementing it right now?
So I'll start with some of the methods or some of the different modes actually. So you have OTT right now, which is picking up a lot. You have quite a few big players such as Roku and some softwares gel which kind of integrate all the different apps at all your smart TVs essentially. So you have programmatic advertising kind of slowly getting into there. And as video is a very important component of advertising right now, it's picking up fast. You also have podcast targeting there, and you have programmatic ways being involved to ensure that audio ads are being have been sold in the most efficient way. Yeah, these are some of the basic ones, and then we have OOH as well, out of home advertising, which is a very interesting concept where even some of the OOH players work with telephone carriers and accordingly get that data and target swarms of people or their audiences if they're all at the same time. It could be at the Times Square or any other location where you can target it based on data which has been come from, say, telephone carriers. So they're very interesting ways, and it's amazing how different industries are combining and ensuring that they have the best product for advertisers right now.
Yeah, just one point to add. I mean, the way I look at it is programmatic is a concept that works across industries. For advertising, it is automated buying and selling of ads. But the concept of programmatic, just like how you have blockchain, can work across domains, whether it's finance, where you already have something called as fintech, right? That is nothing but programmatic way of managing finances. Uh, Similarly, like healthcare, same programmatic way of managing your healthcare data, etc., etc. So, as long as you have technology data points enabling a certain industry to automate certain aspects of that industry, it is using programmatic, whether it is media, entertainment, finance, healthcare, anything.
Yeah, I think well summarized by both Siddesh and Pritesh. Programmatic is here to stay. It's growing in almost every industry, and if you think about the formats, it's I think they've covered everything. And I just saw you're wearing a wearable right now. So am I. A whole bunch of us, and I think wearables is something that's also expanding. And the easiest way to think about it is just in the entire day, think of all the screens that you interact with, or in fact any medium that you interact with, and you'll see that there is programmatic to some extent and some level there. But moving out of where programmatic is growing, some other things that are very important to keep in mind in terms of the trends in programmatic outside of data privacy, which is obviously a very widely growing and largely growing thing, is also, and this might not be completely technical, but it's about well-being and about how a lot of companies are taking a step back and trying to rethink, okay, is the number of hours that you spend in a day on the screen, or the number of hours that you spend online, really that important? Should you be spending that much time? So while we're seeing that peak probably being hit in terms of screen time, I think there's a lot of room for where people are going to move away from the amount of time they spend on screen, the amount of time that is spent binging on say Netflix, the amount of time that you scroll through a YouTube feed, which means you're going to have to be way more accurate in reaching people in the limited time that they start then spending. So you have two very important challenges: the death of the third-party cookie over time, which means targeting is going to become tougher, and probably people being more mindful of how much time they consume and being more literate in terms of their data and how their data should be used and where their data should be used, and finding that balance is where successful companies will be able to do well.
Okay, so now I have the last and the most important question for you guys, and it's a set of questions. So, what are the skills required to master programmatic advertising, and what should we as students do in order to acquire them? This is what we've been waiting for. So, and I want all three of you to take this up. So I'm sure there's something to pick from each one of you. So maybe one of you can start.
Yeah, so I'd say first and foremost, most important thing in programmatic is the desire to learn and constantly stay updated. So long as you have that, I don't think programmatic is rocket science. It's not super complicated. It's not something that needs a great deal of I'd say, it's exactly that. It's not rocket science, but it's extremely fluid in terms of evolution. So there's something new that's coming out daily. There's something new that's happening in the industry. Just one look at the Luma landscape gives you an understanding of just how many players there are and how many players keep popping up on a frequent basis. So I think the most important skill is the ability to stay abreast of what's happening, which means keeping yourself up to date with, say, the marketer, the DigiDays of the world, ensuring that you know what's happening, what are these mediums that are rising, who's doing what, whose market share is increasing, why are they doing what they are doing. If there's growth in a certain market, who's trying to get into the market, who's trying to exit the market, and just being aware of everything that's happening and having that quest to constantly learn. I think that will serve you better than anything else. All the other skills are things that I'm sure Pritesh will agree you will definitely pick up over time. It's not rocket science again. But if you have that will to constantly learn, I think that will just always ensure that you're curious about what's happening and yield good results from that learning.
Yeah, one I kind of explained it very well there. It's an ever-changing landscape, so you have to ensure that you are abreast and you're reading all the correct articles. You have Ad Exchanger, Digiday, to name a few publications. They also have Ad Exchanger has their podcast. So if you're in different audio or subscription models, you can definitely hear them out and gather some knowledge there. When it comes to courses or tools online, you can take up courses on your main platforms, be it your LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, to understand basic, or the best case scenario is to learn a course directly from, say, the Trade Desk, for example, or the Media Math, or even a Skillshop course to learn more about Google tools. Essentially, you have to ensure that you're open to learning new things, because things are going to change in 6 months. So you need to be open to what the best way to learn new things, and try different softwares to ensure that your skills are being well taken care of there.
Yeah, I think Pritesh and Varun summarized those points very well. And it's a tough one, right? Like, how can you learn programmatic being a student when our curriculum and courses are not up to date? As a matter of fact, as he mentioned, it's an ever evolving landscape. But I think, at least for me personally speaking, and also if anyone is interested to understand how agencies work, my go-to thing has always been the Luma landscape. Like, there is so much information in there. Like, I remember looking at the Luma landscape in 2010, or sorry, not 2010, 2015, and now in 2020, like, the number of partners in the landscape itself have almost doubled. So as students, I would say, and especially if you want to crack the agency side of things, uh, understand where the vendors sit in the ecosystem. What do these vendors do? uh, you can go to their website, see their products, see their offerings, and just learn from them. uh, you don't need to know how campaigns actually work, how bidding actually works. All of those things can be learned on the job, and you will learn, of course. But as Varun and Pritesh mentioned, there has to be uh, always an ongoing desire to pick up new things and just be aware of what's happening in the industry. But I think that's one thing which is very simple, which you can do is look at the Luma landscape, see what companies are there, and Google those companies and go to their websites and just read, just like how you read any articles from your Digiday or any other website.
Yeah, thank you all of you for sharing these inputs with us. That was a very insightful and enriching discussion. On that note, I'm extremely grateful to have hosted this session with all of you. Given that all of us are in different time zones, we have Pritesh from Canada, Siddesh from USA, and Vernon and I are in India. Thank you for coming together and making this discussion possible. I want to thank each one of you for taking out time to provide all of us with such invaluable inputs into programmatic advertising. Thank you once again. In case anyone has more questions, feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn. I'll be sharing their handles with you. They'll be more than happy to help. Bye, everyone. See you in the next discussion of the Digital Club.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
folks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.